The Passover celebration that Jesus kept with his disciples is referred to as the Last Supper. Unleavened bread and wine are traditional parts of the Passover meal. Specifically, there are 4 cups of wine. Jesus instituted communion at the 3rd cup. The Last Supper was a significant event and proclaimed a turning point in God's plan for the world. In comparing the crucifixion of Jesus to the Feast of Passover, we can readily see the redemptive nature of Christ's death. As symbolized by the original Passover sacrifice in the Old Testament, Christ's death atones for the sins of his people. His blood rescues us from death and saves us from the slavery of sin. The key theological elements of the Lord's Supper as it was celebrated in the church is the proclamation of the death of Jesus through memorial and remembrance and sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving. Righteousness and action leads to life is a consequence, and the body of Christ means living for righteousness, while the blood of Christ means experiencing God's life. During the Last Supper, which is a Passover celebration, Jesus took a loaf of bread and gave thanks to God. As he broke it and gave it to his disciples, Jesus said, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In John chapter 6, verse 35 says, "And Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst." In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is a new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you." And in Luke chapter 22, verses 19 says, "And he took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me."